I'm Sydney.
I'm Carly.
And I'm Madison.
And you're watching the Get Off Our Lawn Show with Dave and Dave.
Sick.
Thank you, Carly, Madison, and Sydney for that great intro. Those three gals were in my car the other night, and before you get crazy on me, I'm an Uber driver, and they did very well during the Name That Tune contest. Plus, they won the big prize and answered the big question. So I asked them to do the intro for us, and they did. So thank you very much, you three. You guys were great. We had a great time. So, folks, my name is Dave Jackson. With me he's on my left tonight, Mr. Dave Seymour, the power beard himself down there in North Carolina. Welcome to the Get Off Our Lawn Show. What episode is this, Dave?
I don't know.
Well, we don't know. We haven't counted you. With us, folks.
I'd have to do research in order to figure it out.
Oh, we got to count. I know. With us, folks, our special guest this time from the class of '80. We used to know her as Lisa Reeves. Mm-hmm. We now have Lisa Peters with us. How you doing, dear?
I'm doing well.
We can't say enough about all our friends coming back and talking to us and
putting up with us.
I think I've known you since the 6th grade. Mrs. Davidson's class, right?
That's right. Yep.
Wow. Yeah. Yep. You know,
that's crazy.
I was thinking back. I actually remember the day you were introduced to the class. What? You remember it?
I do remember it. I remember what I was wearing. I remember the fear. I remember it very well.
Wow.
Did they walk you down front?
Well, we moved. I mean, I'm sure that'll come up later, but I came in the middle of 6th grade, right after Christmas vacation. And my parents didn't research like what school I should have been going to and hadn't pre-registered me or any of the things that, responsible parents would do.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so by the time I got to the classroom, the morning had already started. So it was a big reveal when I got walked into the classroom. Right. So
I remember it.
This is Lisa.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Is that how it went?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Like, hey.
Okay. So what's your version of the story, Dave?
I remember Mrs. Davidson telling us that we weren't. Well, she didn't use the word surprise. She said we had something going on later in the day. She didn't know what time, and she said we're getting a new student. She wouldn't say if it was a boy or girl.
Okay.
And we were all like, okay, we're pretty settled into the class. Who's going to come in here and be the interrupter, the usurper of this class? Because we're all kind of settled in our ways.
All right.
And I remember the first thing she said. Not the first thing. I remember she said that. And she's from Australia, correct? Am I getting that right?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. We're like, wow, that's so cool. And I think we welcomed you in nicely to the class.
It was a great class to come into.
What do you remember about I kind of want to stick on this for a second. I know we're going to get to high school, but
right.
What do you remember about Mrs. Davidson?
She was your classic kind of old school teacher, but she was very good, but she was old school,
Yeah.
And
my brother had her too for 6th grade.
Yeah. I'm sure she had been teaching quite a while by the time I got to her. So
yeah. And she drove a Coupe de Ville.
Oh, did she?
Yeah. Coupe de Ville.
She was very put together.
And do you remember, just real quick, and we'll press on with a scenario here. Do you remember And I told Dave the story the day she flipped over Joel Bender's desk.
Oh,
You might,
no,
It might have been the wrong half of the year.
Might have been the wrong half of the year.
Or there
And
might
she
have been a
flipped Joel was doodling while she was, giving a lesson, and she just came over and just took his desk and just launched it. Yeah, it was pretty significant.
Yeah.
Was there like a wombat inside of it, Dave?
Wombat? No, it was not. No wombats.
He was doodling a wombat from Australia.
Yeah. We got a girl from Australia coming. Let me doodle something here. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So
All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So the usual thing we like to talk about first is what happened to you after we graduated school, after we got off the football field, and just catch everybody up on you.
Okay.
Yeah. What you been doing?
Well, I let me see, school. All right. I went to Cortland State and I lived home. So I was a townie. I lived in McLean and commuted to Cortland State. And part of it was because I had horses.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to stay home to take care of my horses and ride them and all that. So horses, and I worked part-time at the library in Cortland.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Cortland for 4 years. I got a bachelor's in French.
In French?
Oh.
In French. Yep.
And that's why you were in the French club in school.
Yeah. Except I didn't go to Cortland initially for French. I wanted to get an English degree. I wanted to be in publishing.
Oh.
So, but unfortunately, my first 2 literature courses that I took at Cortland were horrible, deadly, and they just turned me against my English, getting an English major. And really? So I went, okay, well, I'm pretty good at French. I guess I'll do, I'll get the French degree. I enjoyed my French courses, and so that's what I ended up doing. I thought I had a minor in economics, so I thought that I would do international business. So that was kind of my plan.
French leaning international business?
Yes. International business, a French, use the economics somehow with some French, even though I hated economics and barely, passed those courses, but I wasn't going to be teaching it. So we were okay,
Yeah.
So I when I graduated Cortland, I did go to New York City and had an interview with a French bank. But you know what? They were offering not a lot of money, and I would have had to have lived quite a ways out of the city and commute in. And I just kind of realized I had been in the country for far too long. I just didn't think I would survive well in New York City. I think the idea of it was much better than the reality of it. Mm-hmm. So I went back home and regrouped what I was going to do. And all during the 4 years, I had been working at the public library in Portland. And I had, I started as a freshman putting books away. And I then became, we only had one true librarian. That was the director of the library. Everybody else was clerks. So we were all covering the desk and, being reference librarians, which I really enjoyed. And I did the payroll. I was the director's assistant. Mm-hmm. And I did that. I continued to do that when I decided I wasn't going to go to New York City. And
so what year did you graduate Cortland?
84.
84?
Mm-hmm.
So you went right out of high school, graduated 4 years later.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Pretty standard.
Yeah.
And so in 85, I had been dating someone all through college, and kind of went, all right, guess I'll get married.
Yep.
So we got married in 85. All right, guess I'll get married.
That was kind of it, I hate to say, but
on the timeline, right?
I'd been with him for 4 years, so it's like, all right. Mm-hmm. So I did the library thing for a while, and I debated about going to Syracuse for a library degree, but I went and shadowed a friend who was a first grade teacher in Cortland, and I went, I think I want to be a teacher. And so I went back to Cortland and picked up all the courses I needed to get certified to teach, which was almost like a second bachelor's. And was certified to teach elementary school. So then I went looking for an elementary job, but it was during the time where there was a glut of people looking for teaching jobs. And so I couldn't find one. But someone I interviewed with, the principal of the middle school at Lansing, said, "You do know that you're certified to teach French too?" No, I didn't know. All I had to do was the paperwork. I mean, I had everything I needed to teach French, just not the paperwork. So I sent in my credentials and got certified to teach French, and I got hired in 1990 to teach middle school French, 7th and 8th grade French in Lansing Middle School.
Lansing.
Yep.
Wow. Nice. All right.
Yep. So
that's pretty cool.
It was. I mean,
it kind of worked out, right?
Well, wait, I got to back up. I missed a year because after I found out I was certified to teach French, I wanted to teach at Cortland because that's where a friend of mine was teaching French. They had an opening. So I had the offer from Lansing. I was waiting for an offer from Cortland. And the Lansing principal pushed me like, we need you to make a decision.
Yeah.
So I gambled and I lost because I told Lansing no and held out for Cortland, and Cortland didn't hire me.
Oh dear.
Yikes.
But I found out that I was pregnant with my daughter shortly after that. So I had my daughter in April of 90.
Okay.
So, I'm getting my time. I should have done my timeline. I did teach 1 year before I had my daughter. So I said no to Cortland, and then I went, I need something. So I taught for 1 year at Lafayette High School up by Syracuse.
Yep.
So I did teach. I taught high school, 7th through 12th grade French at Lafayette for a year. But the teacher who had vacated that position, who was a French woman,
Wow.
she'd gone to Skinny Atlas thinking the grass was greener, because Skinny Atlas is a wealthy.
It's a nice place, right?
A nice place, right.
Yeah.
Well, she found out, I don't know what the complaint was with Skinny Atlas, but she decided she didn't like Skinny Atlas, so she asked to come back to Lafayette. And I don't blame them. They took her. I'm a new teacher, 1 year green, and here she is, a French woman.
Yes.
So they can do that. They can do
that because I was not tenured.
And then come back.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Because I was not tenured. So non-tenured teachers have,
Did teachers have contracts back in that day and age?
I'm sure. I mean, I don't remember that one, but I'm
well, like
for a year,
Pam's part of the educational system here in North Carolina.
Right, I saw that. Yep.
Every year they have a contract with a teacher that they can renew or not renew, as the case.
Oh.
So I was just curious if that was, and it's interesting that you said that there was a glut of teachers at that time, where today I think you're finding the opposite, right?
Yes.
Big shortage of teachers.
Big shortage, right. Right. Because I've been doing a lot of long-term subbing because they can't find people.
So are you subbing now?
I am subbing now.
Okay.
Still subbing, but just day sub. I'm not doing any more long-term.
Okay. So. All right. So let's jump back to 90.
Okay. Yep. So I did my 1 year and then was out of a job. That's when I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. So I just went back to the library. I'd always been at the library. I just, my hours would increase or decrease depending on my availability. So I went back to full time there for the year. And that's when I found out I was going to have my daughter. And then the Lansing position came open again.
Oh.
And so I was offered the Lansing position and I took it. So that began my tenure at Lansing. So I taught at Lansing. I taught at the middle school French for 7 years.
Okay.
Always wanting to get into the elementary school because that's, teaching younger children was kind of where my heart was.
Yeah.
So eventually the elementary principal said, well, I want you to do this and this. I had a couple hoops to jump through. And then, a couple courses she wanted me to take to get a little more updated since it'd been a while. I did that, and then I went and taught second grade. I got hired to teach second grade with Sherry Williams.
No way.
No way.
Sherry
What?
Williams and I taught second grade together.
Wow. Are you still in contact with Sherry?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's an in, Dave. There's an in. Okay.
Yep, there's an in.
That'll
We'll
be
see.
good.
We'll have to get the other side of the story, though.
So I taught second grade for a couple years, and then I moved to third grade, and I taught fourth grade. But that's where I stayed for the rest of my career teaching. So, and I retired in 2018.
Wow. Before COVID.
Before COVID.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
That was
But then
probably
I
a
kind
good
of never
thing.
stopped.
Yeah.
I was asked to do some, couple maternity leaves, and some teacher that was going to start but couldn't, they needed someone to fill in until she was able to take over the position. So
Yeah.
I had a lot of long-term, several long-term sub jobs
Long-term
after that.
temporaries, right?
Yeah,
Now,
right.
now, do a lot of schools have you on the Rolodex? I mean, can Dryden call you? How does that work? Is it only certain schools or what?
Well, you apply to each district. I didn't
Oh.
apply to any other districts. I just subbed for Lansing.
Mhm.
So, and I really only sub at the middle school and the elementary school.
Okay.
So-
Did you have any thoughts or process or thinking about going to Dryden, or was that like out of the picture completely?
And each school has its own culture,
Mhm.
and it is, just because I'm a teacher doesn't mean I'm necessarily comfortable just jumping into any school. And they have the
Oh.
way they do things, and I'm not. I'm kind of a shy person, so going into where I don't know anybody, even though it's my own old, my old school.
Yep.
Yeah.
Though I will tell you, I did at some point when I was doing, when I was catching up on my certification courses, I did go to Dryden High School
Oh, okay.
and did, maybe I was with Nadine Lemoyne. I just remember sitting at having up on the stage in C13 for a study hall with somebody.
Okay.
I don't know who I was shadowing or what, but I went, this is just so surreal, being back in my old
I
high
can
school.
imagine. That was kind of like an evaluation or an interim position or something.
No, it was before student teaching. So they just put you, like go try it out somewhere, and they assign you to a school, and they assign me to Dryden. This is weird.
Well,
Yeah, it was very, I mean, it's very short term, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you knew your way around.
I knew my way around. Yeah. It was weird. So, and I, that whole time I continued working at the library. I did payroll, and I would work Saturdays.
Okay.
So, I did that. I worked at the library for 20 years.
Nice.
So, yeah, I loved it there too. So that's
Very cool.
that's my work. So I had 2 children.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's go back to 90,
Yep.
and you had your
90.
daughter, right?
Talk about the kids, right?
I had my daughter Stephanie. She's 33,
Mhm.
and she lives in Geneseo, and she is married with 3 children. She has, I think he's going to be 7 in November.
Somewhere less than
Yeah.
10.
7-year-old, and then she has twin boys who are 18, 19 months old.
Okay.
Wow.
So, yeah, she's able to work from home. She's an analyst, so she's able to work from home in a basement office, and her husband is Mr. Mom.
Really?
So that works for them.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
And my son got married last year. He's in the Army, and
Very
he
nice.
is at Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
Oh yeah, Kentucky. Yep.
Getting ready to get stationed in Fort Leavenwood. I don't know what it is in Missouri.
Leavenworth.
No, not
Leavenworth?
Leavenworth. That's a jail. But it's like
It's like that, only
Leavenwood. It's they call it Lost in the Woods. It's in the Ozarks of Missouri.
I guess
He's
I'm not
got to
familiar
go
with
there
that
for a year because he's changing his MOS.
What-
He's
what's his
re-upping.
What's his original MOS?
Well, his original MOS ended up being discontinued by the Army. It was, I don't even know what it was, but it ended in quartermaster. So he was supposed to repair huge washers and dryers or something like that. Originally, that's what he was supposed to do. He never did that job. He ended up doing like working on some big rig stuff, some big Army vehicles. Got assigned to the 5th Group, and he is support for 5th Group, which is Special Forces. He's been deployed twice and has supported 5th Group, often doing he does other stuff he doesn't tell Mom, right? But what he does tell me is the first time he was deployed, in charge of the generator.
Yep.
So now he's switching and he wants to be like a power lineman. He's going to where they do like Army Corps of Engineers stuff. So he's switching his MOS to that and hoping he gets sent to Fort Bragg, North Carolina is where he wants to be.
Really?
So, and he got married last year and has a son, kind of like you have your son got a daughter,
right?
Dave, right?
Yes.
Through marriage.
Yep.
And so, but I wouldn't say stepson because I would get in trouble. So he's got a son. So I have a grandson from them. So
nice.
Yeah.
So I'm
how
proud
many
of
years
them
is
both.
how many years does he have in the Army now?
I think he has 6 in the Army now, 6 or 7, 6.
You gonna do a career out of it, or do you think he's gonna pop out at 8 or 10 or?
It's funny. This is kind of, if he's going to get out, this is the time to get out now. It's at that point where, if you don't do something different, you just stay in, you really aren't going to get the points that you need to advance. And
right.
He has decided he's going to be a lifer and he'll do this. And it's funny because I was trying to look up what it's called and I didn't get a chance to ask him, but his next assignment, it has the word death in it. Like it's your last assignment, your last post is like your post till death. And this doesn't mean technically death, but it's like where your career will end.
Right. No more promotions, no more rank.
I don't, I shouldn't say that, but he is a sergeant now. So I'm,
he'll make rank. He'll be fine.
He'll
do good.
He almost got a, what do they call it, battlefield promotion or something when he was deployed last time, but it didn't occur due to something. I think it was some stupid PT thing or something.
Can you say which country he was stationed in? I have no idea what the rules are.
I don't either. I mean, he's not there now, and it's not like it's.
I think if he's done, he's fine, right?
As long as you don't say the base or,
Right. I don't even know.
You're fine.
Right, that, but the country, right?
Fine.
I mean, he was in Syria.
Yeah,
okay.
Both times.
Yep.
So
that's totally fine. Wow.
OPEX or OPSEC or whatever they call those rules, like.
OPSEC and OPSEC. You got it. You nailed it. Yep. You got it. All right. So,
well,
kids, grandkids. What else? What else you got? Anything else you want to lay out?
Your family you want to share?
Well, let's see. I'm the youngest of 4 by far. So I have 3 siblings, but none of them lived in the area. I was the only one to come. So my brother, I have a brother who is 11 years older than I.
Okay.
And then I have the next is a sister, and she's 13 years older. And then the next is another sister who's 15 years older.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
that's quite a gap there too, right?
It's a big. I was a 42-year-old mom had oops, so.
Yeah.
And the oldest sister still lives in Australia.
Okay.
She was the first. So we didn't start. Let me back up. My parents met in World War II.
Okay.
My father was in the Army stationed in Australia, and my mother was an Australian in the Air Force. And so my father must have been stationed where my mother was in Northern Australia. Yeah. And they met and got married. And so my mom came over, obviously. So they lived here, and eventually, but my mother was never happy in the States. She always wanted to go back home.
Mm-hmm.
So my oldest sister, probably like 1969 or 70, got married and decided she and her husband were going to Australia.
Okay.
So they moved. And then my brother was in college at Geneseo, and he said when he graduated, he would go to Australia.
Okay.
And so that left the middle sister, who had got married in 71, and she was not going to go to Australia. So my parents said, well, we'll have 3 out of our 4 kids in Australia, so let's move. So that's what we did in 1971. I finished 3rd grade and we moved to Australia. I went to school there for third. I had to kind of do because their timing, their years are off, right? So I had to kind of, even though I finished 3rd grade, I had to go finish 3rd grade in Australia for a few months. And then I did 4th grade and 5th grade in Australia. And then in the meantime, my brother graduated college and did not come to Australia.
Okay.
And the sister in Australia was getting divorced and said she was coming back to the States. So my parents went, oh, well, now we're going to have 3 of our kids in the States. So I guess we'll move back.
Really?
So,
Wow.
My mother wasn't happy, but you know.
So you came back to the States 3 years later, right? Give or take a little bit?
Yeah, 3.5. Yep. So, yeah. So what's funny is that we moved before my sister because, you know, divorce and she had to settle everything. So we moved back before she did. And then she went, oh, psych, not coming back to the States. See? I don't think my mom ever forgave her.
Wow.
So, yeah. So I've done a lot of, you know, I was born on Long Island and lived in 2 places in Australia. When we came back from Australia, we lived with my sister in Liverpool. So I went to school in Liverpool and then went to Dryden. So I'm like, oh, you know, I've been to a few schools.
Why Dryden? Why was Dryden? What was the deal there?
That's a good question. So my father got a job at Wilson Sporting Goods in Cortland.
Oh,
okay.
So my father has always done manufacturing. You know, he went to business school after the war, and he's always been involved with manufacturing. So he got a job when we returned. He got a job at Wilson's. So my mom had always wanted horses and land. So, you know, we found a piece of land in McLean.
Okay.
And built a house, and that's why it's Dryden, because they found land there. It's not because they.
We're in McLean.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're in McLean on the Prouville side, or
If you are right in the square there, you know, and you go between the Elm Tree Inn and the little antique shop there, and you head up the road. You know, it's Church Street. You know, and you go past the church, go past Lori Munson's house, and you go up the hill past. There's a cemetery there on the left. And then once you start up that hill, it changes from Church Street to Lafayette Road.
Okay.
And so just as you get to the top of the hill there, Lafayette Road, that's where we built the house, right on top of the hill.
Nice.
Wow.
So,
one of the McLean kids.
I was. Yeah, I was good friends with Barbie Sanford.
Yeah.
And when we first moved into McLean, we lived in apartments just down the hill from where we ended up building. We lived there for, I don't know, a couple of years, I think, till we built the house. And Katie Hyde lived across, Katie and Pam Hyde, the whole Hyde family.
Oh yeah, the Hydes, yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Donnie and yeah.
Yep.
So I was good friends. I first was good friends with Katie and Pam Hyde. And then I was friends with Barbie Sanford. And yeah, so I mean, it's kind of hard. I mean, you were in the village, so you had it easy, but it's kind of hard being out in the boonies there because no one ever wants to come and pick you up. And you know, my mom could technically drive. She just didn't like it. Okay. So she was reticent to kind of take me much of anywhere. And my dad was working a lot of hours. So it's like, it was kind of rough, you know. So,
can I ask you an off the wall question?
Sure.
So McLean Elementary School there, I think Casaban, right? Had the wackiest water that used to taste like sulfur. Did you have a well that tasted like sulfur?
Yes, we had a well. No, it did not taste like sulfur.
Okay. I was just trying to figure out if that was like somehow a school problem or I don't know that they were on public water or not, but
I don't know. That's funny because when I talked about my parents being irresponsible parents when it came to my school. It came day to go to school and my dad takes me down to McLean Elementary School.
Yeah.
And walks in,
Wrong
and then
school.
finds out they only go to third grade. That's why I was late to drive me for sixth grade, because he tried to take me to the elementary school in McLean.
Wrong school.
It's like,
It was a short
Google
commute, so-
research.
Anyway, it used to the water used to smell like rotten eggs.
Yeah, I'm not I've dealt with sulfur water at other locations, but
Yeah.
no, luckily ours. The thing was, we did have a well, and my mom was just so uptight about it. When it didn't rain for a few days, we got no showers.
Yeah.
You don't tell a teenage girl you can't shower and wash your hair. Like,
Don't flush the toilet till the third time.
That's right.
something. I mean,
That's how my grandmother was.
Yeah.
Drove me up a wall. Just
Yeah. I know. I'm sure the well was fine, but she wasn't going to find out. Like, no.
No, I was just asking. I was curious. I didn't know if that was like an area problem or a school problem.
Well, it wasn't my area. Up on the hill, we had good water. So
There you go. I'm all about that. Good water.
All right, we're back. So, Dave, perchance, do you have those pictures I sent you?
Which picture would you like, Dave? We can talk.
Your senior picture. Well, we can talk about a prophecy first.
Sure.
Do you remember your prophecy, Lisa?
no idea. I couldn't find the yearbook, so
I like that.
And here is your prophecy.
oh my God.
There it is.
Oh my God.
Break it down for us, Lisa.
Break it down.
That is hilarious.
How did that work out? Tell
I'm
us.
not even thinking, like, I can't believe I wrote that. Like, did someone else write that for me? Because that doesn't even sound like anything I was ever thinking. A TV writer, like, why? Okay, no. And U.S. Equestrian, at that time, I was ready to get out of horses. So that's kind of funny. I must have just.
You were ready to get out of horses?
I was ready to get out of having horses.
Wow.
My whole life had been horses. So
Yeah,
I was kind of done. I was horsed out. So
wow.
I'm like, none of that even appeals to me.
Is that nickname right?
Please, yeah.
Oh,
Yep,
sorry.
please.
All right,
Yep.
cool.
So let me ask you a question about that then. So you say you're all horsed out. What did you do that horsed you out?
So my mom loved horses when she was younger. And I remember being in Australia, they used to have these old horses they used in the coal mines or something. I don't know. And they would sell them off. And I had a friend I'm like, I want one of those horses. I was just a typical young kid that all girls, well, I should say all, but most want a horse.
Especially a coal mine horse.
Yeah, right. Yes. Probably has a limited lifespan, but my mom had enjoyed horses and I think had always wanted horses. So she kind of vicariously through me was like horse. Okay. So I started horseback riding lessons, pretty shortly after, we moved to McLean.
Right.
And it was every Saturday morning, every Saturday early.
Wow.
And so whenever I would stay over, like at Sherry Williams' house, a friend's house, my dad would come pick me up, and first thing Saturday morning, and take me to my riding lesson. And then
no cartoons for you, right?
No tunes, no hanging. It was, come on. I'm like, oh. And then we had Then I had horses, and of course there are a lot of upkeep, and so, and then mom, like, the horses need exercise. You got to ride.
Yep. You got to exercise them. Yep.
Just took all the fun out of, and the other thing is my mom always wanted the horse that was like fiery, very attractive. It's fiery horses that catch your eyes, the ones that have that extra prance and they have the crowd.
Spirit to them.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of spirit. Yeah. And all I ever wanted was a trail horse. I just wanted some plodding trail horse to ride in the country. Yep. And that I never had anything that I felt safe enough to just ride out in the country, because they were all just, they spooked at everything. Gotcha. And so, So in my whole life outside of school was horses. And I was kind of done. Yeah.
Now, did you show it all or go to horse?
No, I showed.
Or did clover leaves or anything like that?
Well, I did English, so I
Okay.
didn't do Western. So I was doing the posting,
Yep.
and I did some jumping.
Mhm. Any
I did
awards?
some dressage. Oh, ribbons that I didn't do. I did smaller horse shows.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I did go to the Syracuse fair once and showed. That
Oh.
was a nightmare
At the
because
state fair.
of the crazy state fair.
was
That
a
was a
nightmare.
crazy horse. That was a nightmare because the horse is crazy. Horse was crazy. So, yeah. So I did
What
show.
What were the name of these beasts?
So Shadow, Shadow Fax. Shadow
Uh-huh.
Fax was the last horse. Well, yeah, was the big deal horse I had. He was beautiful. He was a black stallion, which
Mhm.
will lead me to a Chuck Hanley story in a minute.
Oh, I
Um,
love Chuck Hanley stories.
So I know. So Shadowfax, my first horse was half Arab, and she was Alana or something. It was in Arabic. It means pearl or the pearl, welcome the pearl or something like that. And then I did get a horse from a riding stable that I used to take lessons on. He just kind of needed a retirement home, so he came to my house. He was a nice calm one for a little while in my life. But the other two, the Arab and the other one was a horse off the racetrack. And so he was a little kooky, but he was beautiful. So
Yeah.
when I got him, Chuck Hanley gave me a book, the Black Stallion, there's
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he gave me that. And his wife, I think he married Donna. He married a woman who was into horses. Chuck ended up taking lessons too. So at one point, I had my horse at the Cornell Polo Barns, and I think that's where he met Donna. I'm going to say his wife. I think they got married because they
Mhm.
did have a daughter together.
Yes.
And she gave lessons, and I worked with her a little bit. So, but yeah, Chuck Hanley, and I remember him giving me, because he knew my horse, and he gave me the book, the Black Stallion.
Oh, that's nice.
There you go.
What other pictures you got, Dave? I know you got some more pictures. I sent him some pictures, Lisa, just so you're not in the darkness. I sent him a few yearbook pictures of the
Well,
various clubs you were in.
Let's dwell on that for a minute because
With Arlette.
I noticed that my sister is in this picture.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
You didn't even notice that, right, Dave?
I
I didn't even notice that, Dave. Nope, I had no clue who that was.
Oh yeah.
yep.
And Marion Lisk.
So that's Thomas. Who's to your right?
Lori Thomas, Arlette Smith,
Arlette Smith.
Uh, uh, um, what was Lisk?
Marion Lisk.
Marion Lisk? Is that
I
right?
don't know.
Oh, okay. All right.
I can't remember.
I know. I don't remember her as well.
She was in Beth's grade, and I think they hung
Okay,
out.
thank you. I'm like, I hope she wasn't in our class.
No, she was in Beth's class, and so
Okay.
they
All
were a year or two behind us. Talked about the cross.
Okay.
See, let's drag this one up here too.
I don't think I was in student council.
Oh, you were.
Oh,
I
you
was.
were.
Oh, I am. Lel Reeves. Oh, that's funny. I didn't think I was.
See, you and I were in the same group. I'm up there in the upper left with glasses on.
Oh, upper left.
Over here? No, over here.
Up here, right
That
next to
would
your
be
sister, Dave.
That is my sister.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought I was in there for a while too. I can't remember. There's
Yeah, you
Bache
are.
in the back. There's Plourde, Munson.
Yep.
All right, a couple of those folks. There it was, right
Oh,
there.
you're in all the pictures, huh?
National Honor Society.
Oh, yeah. It's like caught me mid blink or something.
Mid blink.
Mid
Yep.
blink.
Mid blink. Yeah,
Now,
I just found my honor society patch today. I was looking for pictures and couldn't find anything.
So, what was the prerequisites for that? Is that something you could join, or you had to have a certain grade? What was the deal with
Yeah,
that?
it was a GPA thing.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yep.
I don't remember what it was, but yeah, it was a GPA thing.
Who's this guy with the curly hair?
Oh my God, I remember. There's Sue Page. I remember Sue Page and Arlette and
Karen
Tracy
Powell.
Austin. Is that Tracy? Oh, she's not Tracy Austin. Tracy Nichols, right?
Yep, Tracy Nichols.
Tracy Austin now. She lives in Lansing.
That's this young lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to recrop those, Dave.
Yeah.
Straighten those out. We need the names.
Yeah, okay. I'll get right on it.
All right. Yeah. So just a couple of walk down memory lanes there, right?
Yeah.
What did we do in student council? I have no recollection of sitting down at a meeting and going, I object, or I want this, or I want that, or
I
don't
know.
remember anything like that.
I don't know.
I don't remember either. I mean,
report back to homerooms or something about decisions, or
Maybe that might be
I think it was
right.
something with homerooms. I think that's why there's so many of us, because it was
Did we decide anything? Do you remember deciding anything like better dessert or something like that?
Longer lunch hour, or
Did we get like soda machines installed or something? I don't know.
I think we weren't giving input. We were reporting back to the class about decisions that were made. Right.
Exactly right. Yeah. They were giving us info. We go back to homeroom and brief everybody.
I think that was it.
Yeah, but what did we say to them?
I don't know.
What did we decide? Well, at this meeting, we didn't do anything. I don't remember anything.
So you mentioned Chuck Hanley. Chuck Hanley was by far my favorite teacher.
Right. So I've heard you say that.
Yeah. So who influenced you? Who was your favorite teacher? If you have a couple, I'd love to hear it.
Well, I liked Chuck a lot. And I've heard you talk about Lieberman, and I have to admit that her teaching practices influenced my teaching practices. I think her like mnemonic devices and the songs.
Did you do songs and stuff?
I did songs. Now, I'm not saying I necessarily invented the songs, but I certainly knew the importance of songs for memorization. And I did use for verb conjugation in French.
Yeah.
I had a couple songs to teach verb conjugation and mnemonic devices.
Can you sing one?
Je suis, tu es, il est, nous sommes, vous êtes, ils sont. Je suis, tu es, il est, nous sommes, vous êtes, ils sont. Yeah. That's the conjugation of the verb to be.
Well done.
I still remember the Maybe Lieberman songs.
Yeah. I remember there was one about amino acids and proteins. Like that's the only one that sometimes I can get a little part of. But
I remember the one about liver and urea.
Well, if you want to know secretions, ask the Golgi body. Golgi. I knew Dave would like that. Mitochondria, ATP, what is it? No, respiration. Okay. It was something respiration energy, mitochondria energy, respiration ATP, something like that. There was a song that incorporated.
They worked. Look at you. I mean, those things.
No, I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, I used to
see if Buddy Lang had done songs, I'd have done a lot better in that class.
Well, he was effective, though. I have to admit, he was.
We have a difference of opinion there.
I know. I mean, he was intimidating. He was sarcastic. Things that people don't usually say are great qualities in teachers. But I have to admit that he instilled a love of world history in me, and it continued.
That I agree with. Yes.
Yes. Yep. So that was effective. And Mr. Ventura, I liked Mr. Ventura as an English teacher. I enjoyed him.
Yeah, he was a good guy.
Yeah. So, and Danny Stiles, people talked about. What a lovely human being he was. So good.
Yeah.
He was a good teacher.
Yeah. Anybody else?
All right. Got Lieberman, Lang, Ventura. I think those were the main ones for me. Hanley.
Yep.
Yeah. Did you have Chuck Hanley for debate class, or just social?
No,
or just history?
Just social studies. Yeah. You're right.
That was like ninth grade, right?
I think so. Yes.
Ninth grade.
So we had to do. I remember we had countries, and we had. It was like almost like a world war. It was like a game of Risk.
Yes.
I remember, and we represented certain countries, and I hate the game of Risk. So it's.
We had to move the chairs into a big circle for something.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Ellen, but this was one of the funniest things ever. And I don't know why he did it, but at one point, Ellen Stefano was in that class with me, and he took her desk, and Ellen's very composed and reserved, and he took her desk and he tilted it so that she was on her back. I don't know why he did it, I thought it took balls to do it because that's the principal's daughter. Like how,
Right.
I don't know if that was the smartest thing to do,
That'll
but
get
I don't know why he did it, but it was really quite funny. Sorry, Ellen, really it was.
Well, you don't know why he did it? Why?
I don't remember
just
why
did it?
what got him, why
He did a lot of
that to
practical
her.
jokes.
Yeah, yeah.
Did Ellen remain composed during this episode of tipping the
He
chair
became
back?
very red and embarrassed.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, no, it wasn't good.
wow. All right.
Yeah.
All right. That's great.
So, who was your core group then in high school?
Well, Sherry was
Who'd
one
you
of my
hang?
probably, since sixth grade. She kind of took me under her wing when I went into Mrs. Davidson's class, and we always remained very good friends. So she was always one of the key ones. Cheryl Donnely.
Yeah.
And
My cousin Cheryl.
Yeah. And Amy Young Dubach.
Yep.
And so we are very close. There's 6 of us that get together on a quite regular basis. So it's Marie and Sherry, and myself and Cheryl and Denise, Hamilton Hatch, and Amy Young. Did I get everybody? So there's 6 of us, and
That's
we do
quite the group.
vacations. We have a lot of fun. We go on vacations and we get together.
Oh, wow.
Cheryl's in Tampa.
Yeah.
Marie is snowbirding, but she's in Moravia when she's here.
Okay.
And Sherry's in Ithaca when she's here. She snowbirds. I'm here. Amy's in Rochester.
Yeah.
Year round. So there's
And-
and Marie and Denise, when she's not doing her job, she's in local. So we get together for dinner.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
awesome.
We really, and we've done a couple girl trips, to Florida. And
Yeah, I saw something pop up the other day on Facebook. It was in Myrtle Beach, I think.
I was Myrtle Beach, but that was with my boyfriend. But I did get together with Marie. You're right. I did get together with Marie in Myrtle Beach. Yep, I was down there for a vacation, and we met up because that's where she snowbirds too. So
Nice.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
Did you no, I'm betting the answer is no here, but I'm gonna throw this out there. Did you get in any trouble in school?
I got in trouble a couple times, nothing huge. So the one thing we used to do is I had a pickup truck, horses. So I had a pickup truck that I would drive to school. I guess it was senior year probably, because I'm probably one of the youngest of the to graduate. So I was 17. My birthday's in December. And I think it's because of my switching back and forth, so I probably would have been in the class if I'd stayed, maybe, I don't know, depending on when the cutoff was, but, I'm December 14th, so it's pretty late in the year. But anyway, so I think it was probably senior year. I was driving the pickup truck to school.
How many kids in the back?
Yeah, exactly. So the girls I've mentioned, plus probably maybe Kim Vos or whoever, jumping in the back, and we would go to McDonald's in Cortland on lunch. So I would just, and they were in the, they were in the back.
Kind of a hall,
have a
too,
club
right?
cab.
That takes 20 minutes to get over there or something.
Yeah, I mean, I had a little bit of a lead foot. So, we probably got our hand kind of slapped for that. And the other thing was dances. So I had started working at the Faster Gasser in Groton. My senior year, junior year. And so I made a lot of Groton friends.
Okay.
And so we would go to each other's dances. You could have a guest. And so I had a group of Groton girls that wanted to come to the Dryden dance. So I parceled them out to my friends, like, okay, this person's going to be your guest. And
so you had like guests.
they each had a guest that they, were bringing to the dance, and it takes a parent note or something. I don't remember, but,
Yeah.
Well, what happened at the end of one dance is we all kind of left, but one of the Groton girls didn't get picked up. And so that's when it kind of came to light that we were doing this kind of fudging. It's not like whoever was her host wasn't with her,
You were setting up dates?
Oh, she was smuggling immigrants in from
That was, that was
right?
kind of right.
Because
You were infiltrating Groton kids to our dances and
Yes.
vice versa?
And vice versa. We got yeah.
now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I didn't think Groton kids got along with Dryden kids.
They didn't.
Well,
Well,
some of the girls did. I mean, look at
probably
Marie.
the girls
She
did. No,
married.
I bet the girls did.
Yeah,
Maybe the girls did. Maybe it was just the boys that were
What was
off.
the guy? It was the
It
sports.
was there was a little
July.
jealousy with
Yes.
I think there was a football thing, or in a sports.
There was a
thing,
football
right?
thing.
Yes, correct.
Maybe a basketball thing or something.
Yes, correct.
Right. Right.
But the girls
Yeah.
got along okay.
We did. So I did get in trouble for that since I was the kingpin of that
Who'd you get in
dance
trouble
fiasco.
with?
Stefano or Cooper,
Oh, so
whoever.
you get in trouble with the Groton folks. You got in trouble with
our
our administration.
Because
Okay.
I didn't take care of our guests. Yes.
I
So-
see.
But
Now-
I mean, that's about as bad as I got in school as far as trouble with, was skipping out for lunch or, that little dance fiasco. I don't know. I forget how we got into that, the faster gasser, but, driving, that's it. So
Yeah.
getting in trouble.
That's
Yep.
right. Well, you had some Groton hookup connections.
Yes.
That
I
was
had
the
no
wrong way
idea
to
that
say
was
that.
going on. Why would I know that was going on? But still, I had no idea that was going on.
Well, I had no idea either. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
The things we learn on this thing.
I know. All this stuff comes up, right? It's like,
Me too.
Yeah, yeah. So do you have any stories? So one of the things we like to do is we like to cross-reference stories to find out what other people's versions of the story is versus the story that you tell us. Do you have any stories like that?
That would require a better memory than I probably have.
well, there's got to be at least one story somewhere where you're hanging out with all your buds, doing something, going to Stewart Park, going skating.
Dryden Lake.
I know, I'm trying to think of something that happened. I mean, I don't know if it's because alcohol was usually involved and that's why the memory is a little shady, but I remember there used to be those parties. I think you were talking about, I don't know if it was up at, would you say Old Baldy? I don't know, somewhere out in Dryden.
Ooh, there you go.
There'd be a place that there were parties. I mean, I can't speak to anything that happened, but I remember doing that. And of course, the North 40. I mean,
well, yeah. Well, Old Baldy was up behind Everett. It's off of Yellow Barn Road.
Yeah, I don't know where this was because
this was a ledge that overlooked the Dryden Drive-In.
I would have been directed to drive wherever it was because I wasn't
it wasn't
driving.
really a drive-to kind of place. So you had to really.
Well, it was out in the field. I remember going out to parking in a field.
Yeah, that could have been, and then
Right.
hiking up and out of the way.
Perhaps I just remembered. Yeah.
So were there any North 40 stories?
Oh, come
on.
I don't remember anything particular. The girl, I mean, I can tell you, Cheryl, I'm not outing anybody with stories, but, but I think Cheryl might have some North 40 stories that I don't particularly remember. I'm not saying they involve me, but, just a lot, you'd walk in, you get that red Solo cup,
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The red Solo cup.
The red Solo cup. That was bad. That was bad. $5 and drink all you want all night.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Yeah, it was crazy.
yeah. But no, I can't. I mean, I don't. Maybe if if I'd had a little warning, but I can't come up with anything.
Spontaneity is the key with this thing.
Well,
Oh, so did you go on the senior trip to Florida?
I did.
Okay.
I loved it. Well, I was just going to say, my brother was living in Richmond, Virginia, when we did that trip.
Yes.
And that's what I wanted to find a picture of, and I couldn't find my pictures from high school.
Mhm.
But my brother, so if I was 16, 17, and 11. So he's 28, 29, living in Richmond. He and some of his workmates took a humongous, like a wall-sized piece of corrugated cardboard and wrote, "Welcome Dryden class of 1980," with a huge, under a spotlight, or they had spotlights. And as our train, and it must have stopped or slowed down going through Richmond and off to, and I must have known to look or something. Maybe he told me he's going to do it because obviously he didn't have cell phones.
Right.
And there it was. There was my brother with some of his friends with this big, huge sign. So that's always a fond memory for
Watching you
me.
guys
that
fly
trip.
by, right?
Yeah,
I don't
Yep.
remember that.
I know. I don't know.
Looking
I mean,
for it.
it's not like you probably would have had to have been on that side of the train,
Train,
and
Yeah.
yeah.
So
But I
like
do
you flag
remember.
down the whole classes, everybody
I
go on
know,
the left
look.
side. I look
Yeah.
at my
Right.
brother.
Hey, look.
Right. By the time we do
Look
it,
at
it's gone.
Yeah.
But I remember.
That was the longest train
I
trip
know. I heard you say.
ever.
I guess it was long, but it was fun. We had fun.
Yeah.
I remember a bunch of us put Ronnie Flynn's hair in little, he had little pigtails sticking out.
Mhm.
You have to find a pic of that. I'm sure there's one somewhere, but
There's gotta be one.
we
There's gotta be one.
we all were putting his hair in little ponytails. So yeah, I love that trip. I thought that was a lot of fun. I was staying with Sherry Williams, and remember our South African exchange
Yeah.
student Colleen Schwartz, right?
Yep.
Something like that. Yep, Colleen, and I don't know who the fourth.
She was the blondie, right?
Yeah, she was pretty blonde. Yeah, I loved her. We were good friends.
She was a skier too, I think. Did you go? Were you in ski club?
I was in ski club for I don't know if it was maybe 2 years, not a lot. Like I've never skied, and so I did join, and I had never skied. I had never had a lesson, and Sherry and the girls took me up the Bunny Hill.
Yeah.
Which is a misnomer, because I mean, when I think Bunny Hill, I was thinking of like the Snoopy Hill, the Peanuts.
Yeah.
That's what I thought I'd be doing. I didn't realize I would have to ride a chairlift to my first slope, and it was very scary. So I never became a great skier. I stayed green. So I did do it. I'm glad I did it, but I'm
I
good with
remember
not
seeing
doing it.
Sherry Williams up there at Greek Peak quite a bit.
I remember seeing
Yeah.
Sherry.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What else we got for this young lady, Dave? I think we hit our list.
Well, I was just sort of referencing that. And so I was thinking, what kind of advice would you give to yourself as a person of this age to a person of that age?
Thinking back.
Right. And I have watched all of your episodes except for your two, which I haven't done yet. And
Really?
I hate to say Jeff Markel. Nothing personal. I just hadn't gotten to it yet. But I watched all of the others. I knew this was coming. So I gave it a little thought.
Preparatory work is always good.
It's always good.
That's what I was doing. And I learned so much. I mean, this is awesome. And David Stoner,
I know.
that was awesome.
We've heard stories that we've never heard before,
Yeah.
right?
And someone else made me, and you taking him, I was tearing up at a couple stories. But anyway, I would tell myself to be adventurous. I was kind of held back and reticent, a little reserved, and go for it.
Yep.
Oh,
Go for it.
right. Yeah.
I wish I'd had more balls, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we're all just trying to figure it out, right? When you're in high school, you're like,
And depending on we all got put into a certain clique of people, and depending on what that group did is what you did.
Right.
Yeah. So.
and sometimes the cliques cross-pollinated, and sometimes they didn't, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And so, there's some kids that we just didn't hang out with.
Yeah.
And whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't.
And it was hard living out in the boonies. That was a little harder for me because I didn't do a lot of the activities that my friends did, because I just couldn't get to it. So that's one thing. I'm like, when I got married, I'm like, I am not living out in the country and making my kids try to get to places. I always lived in a neighborhood. I just wanted them to have that access to stuff a little more easily.
Yeah, it's interesting. When our kids were growing up, we lived in a lot of base houses. They were military brats, so all the base houses, everybody knew each other. So, but when we moved out of the country in Delaware, that's when things got real sketchy with the kids. We moved out of the country because they had to figure out how to get with the other kids back in town,
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's when things got kind of sketchy with the kids.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
I bet.
not that I know anything about Delaware, but when I came over to Delaware a couple times, it seemed like there was really nothing around out there.
Until you got to the beaches, you had to go, east or west to go
Yep.
this bay or this bay. Because
Yeah.
where we lived, you saw we were in the middle of a cornfield.
Well, that's what I mean. It was just miles and miles of flat.
Flat. Yeah.
That's what I remember.
Yeah. So the kids had to figure out how to get into town and how
Yeah.
to sneak into town. It was crazy. We didn't know.
My parents lived in Delaware for a few years after
Where?
I got married.
Where Delaware?
Lewis,
Oh, Lewis, yeah.
Delaware.
Yeah.
So pretty.
Pretty down there. Yep.
Right by Rehoboth Beach.
Rehoboth Beach. Yep.
Yeah. So that's my experience.
Delaware. I miss a lot of things about Delaware.
Yeah.
Where's the island with the wild ponies? That's off of Delaware somewhere, isn't it?
No, that's off of
By Chesapeake
yes.
Bridge. It's Assateague and Assateague
the one.
and
Yeah, Assateague.
the other one.
Assateague, right?
There's
Yeah.
two of them, Assateague and but yeah, they're right by the Chesapeake Bridge. I think I don't know if that's Virginia or Maryland right there on the one end, but
Maryland.
Might be the end of Maryland. Okay. Yep.
okay. Yep. I've always wanted to go there. That's why, and I've been by it. I'm like, I want to go there.
We'll go see ponies.
Yeah.
I want to stay away from them. I want to go back and see them. Make up your mind.
Exactly.
Do you have anything for us you want to talk about?
I know that was the hardest thing because I have watched all of them. So I'm like,
So you get these little snippets of stories.
so I know your kids, I know the grandkids, I know when you retired, I know what you did. So I'm like, what would I? But who did I watch last? Oh, it was Bache. Bache's the last one I watched.
Okay.
And he asked you a great question. And it was, oh my God, do you remember what he asked you? No, because it was probably last year. He was one of the first ones. And it was
I'd have to go back and do some
like
research.
what you wish you had done, or I don't know. So I'll just ask that kind of question though. Like, where's your favorite place you've ever been to visit?
To visit.
Yeah, like a vacation or
Well, I mean, I was always a skier. And so getting out west to Utah to ski and or to Heavenly Valley. Heavenly Valley was absolutely beautiful.
Where's that?
It's just on the other side of Reno and Lake Tahoe. Beautiful countryside off the Sierra Nevadas. At the top of Heavenly Valley, you can see into California, and you walk over there, and it's the state line. You're right on the state line, on top of the mountain peak, and it's the desert in Nevada. And so you can be on top of the mountain.
Oh wow!
And down in the valley, it's completely brown desert kind of stuff.
That's cool.
So that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Then internationally, I really like London.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been to London a couple times, and I really enjoy the history and going around and just seeing stuff. It's really a fun city.
And they speak English, so that's nice.
And they speak English. So personally, I don't have a language barrier. But Pam and I we actually scored a trip. We saved up for a trip to go to Paris this fall. So we're going to be
my favorite.
End of September, we're going to go over to Paris. I've been there a couple times, groups and whatnot. Pam's never been.
Oh, nice.
We're going to go do that. So her French is coming back too, because she took a number of years of French at Dryden High.
Well, every little bit helps, Well, they appreciate just the effort.
Well, well, that was my experience too. If you tried a little bit, but everybody over there wants to practice their English.
Yeah.
You get over there and you're like, I speak English, and they're like, oh, great. I would love to practice my English. So, but a lot of it came back to Pam.
Any country I've been to, if you try,
they
appreciate it.
They're See, I didn't find Paris like stuck up, but maybe
people say that, but
I don't get that.
No, good. I'm glad you say that.
So, Dave, out of all of the places you've been,
true,
you've been all over the world to every Air Force base in the world.
Full disclosure, for the brief time I was in Paris,
I
didn't have a good time.
You did not?
No, we did not.
No Moulin Rouge?
Well, they made the mistake of sending us to Disneyland first.
Oh. You don't go to Paris for
Exactly.
Disneyland.
We left. I mean, we were literally there 20 minutes. Like, why are we here? We left. Went to the Louvre. Went downtown. Went to the Tower.
Yeah.
We didn't. We had a little bit of time there, but we didn't. It was a really weird vibe in 1993 in Paris for some reason. I don't know what was going on.
All right.
Easily the most. There's two places that stick in my head that are just flat out. Just I was in awe of just by sheer beauty, and that was Crete. Crete and Greece. I'll just put those two together. And Prague. Prague was just.
I hear that.
And I'm not a big architecture guy. You know, you're in Spain. You're like, okay, the Moors that was built. The Spanish did that, and the Moors came back. I mean, you can see everything that happens in Spain. You get to Prague, and you're just blown away by the architecture. Just the bridges. I mean, it's insanely beautiful. My first carp there.
Your first what? Oh, that's what I thought you said.
Yeah, no, you heard me right. Carp. We went to a restaurant. We'd done a show there, and then we had a night off.
Yeah.
So we went to a restaurant. And the special was carp, and I'm like, carp. And I was telling the gentleman that was serving us. I said, this is how my grandfather taught us how to eat carp. You take the carp, you nail it to a 2x4 board, you skin it, you throw it in the oven, you take it out of the oven, you throw away the carp and eat the board.
That's right. Throw the fish in the garbage and eat the board.
Eat the board. He assured me it was delicious, and he was not kidding. It was steamed, it was deboned, it was absolutely luscious. It had all kinds of, it was a nice salad with it. It was just delicious. Anyways, I had carp in Prague. But
Prague's on my bucket list.
Prague and anything in the Mediterranean. I wasn't a big fan of Venice because we went to Venice. Venice just stunk. It was like the tide was out or something. It was just horrible. I mean, it was cool to, again, architecture, boats and water, and even here. But hands down, Crete and Greece.
So I just want to. I saw Suzette mentioned me that we both.
Yes, you did. That's right.
Yeah, we did both study at the same place in Switzerland. Talking about traveling, so that allowed for a lot of amazing travels. But yeah, it's funny. The year after me, she went through a Cortland program, even though she wasn't at Cortland. So, and I do believe we shared a male interest. So I heard.
This was in France, right?
Switzerland.
Oh, Switzerland. Sorry.
Yeah.
Wow, what are the odds of that?
Yeah, that was a little weird.
That's a little weird.
That's a little weird.
She was a lot of fun, and Dave could not figure out who she was. That was one of the coolest ones. He tried so hard to figure out who that was behind.
Oh, right, when she had the mask on and everything. Right.
That with the mask.
He was certain it was a male, at first, right? Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
What do I know?
So, anything else you got for us, dear, before we let you go? The evening's getting late. I know you need to sleep. I need to sleep. Dave needs to sleep. We're all old.
I'm heading to North Carolina tomorrow.
Are you?
So,
where are you going to North Carolina?
Just north of Charlotte, Davidson.
Yep.
Going for my niece's 25th wedding anniversary.
Nice.
So,
wow. Yeah.
Yep. So.
Well, if you feel like swinging through Raleigh, we got a guest room. Come on down.
Thanks. I was going to tell you I did go to Raleigh once, and I thought of you, but I didn't have contact information. But I went to a Frida Kahlo exhibit at a very nice museum, like Museum of North Carolina or something.
Yeah, it was
like
North Carolina Art Museum.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Beautiful museum. Yep.
It's a nice place. They do outside concerts every week all summer long.
Oh, are you near there?
Probably 20 minutes.
Okay. All right. So I did think, I'm like, oh, I know they live around here somewhere.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, no, but I'm good.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
If you're in Pittsburgh or anywhere in the surrounding areas.
Never been to Pittsburgh.
Well, you should take
if I do, I'll look you up.
Yeah.
We have lots of nice museums.
I hear good things about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was impressed when I got here. Even though I only worked there and not live there, but still. Yeah.
Well, Lisa.
All right, dear. Well, thank you so much for coming on with us.
My pleasure.
Thanks for chatting.
Yeah.
Sure.
Hearing stories.
We're gonna try to get the rest of your cronies from school lined up. I need to talk to cousin Cheryl. I would
Yep.
love to get a hold. We talked to Mike Motsay. We're in touch. We gotta get a
Yep.
hold of his sister, and so we're lining them up slowly but surely.
Yep.
All right.
Working our way through.
Right.
Yeah, we're working our way
Good.
through. Well, thank you, Lisa, so much.
Thanks,
Thanks again.
guys. It was fun talking to you.
All right.
All right, bye, dear.
Bye.
All right. Thanks very much for playing. Bye.
Sure.